We are on 41A, correct, 41A. And we have been discussing the laws of one bracha exempting other brachas. Which one should you recite the bracha on? If you're going to recite a bracha on one bracha, that's going to exempt other items. So which one would be the ideal one to say the bracha on? That we had an argument between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis. Rabbi Yehuda said the main bracha on the Shivas Haminim, 7 species, and the rabbi said recite the bracha on the one that is chaviv, the one that you cherish more, and that was and that deserves the bracha. And after you recite the bracha on that item, you have in mind the other items. The other items are sort of dragged into that same bracha. They're included in that same bracha. But the initial bracha, there is an argument what you should recite the initial bracha on. Ula said that this debate is limited to this scenario where one bracha is going to be recited and it's going to be exempting all the other food items. But if you have different brachas that are required, then the debate between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis does not apply. The only argument applies when you're going to be reciting the bracha on one item and it's going to exempt other items. But if you're going to be reciting a bracha on each item individually, for example, you have a fruit, a vegetable, a shahakol, a bari priya gofen, you have different types of foods that are going to each require their own bracha, then there's no argument to rabbis and Rabbi Yehuda regarding the bracha, because you're saying a bracha on each one. If you're going to be reciting a bracha on one and it's going to exempt some other food, then you have to give respect to the important food. The important food the bracha should be recited on. But if you're going to recite a bracha on each food item, individually, each food item is getting its bracha. Okay, this one I'm doing first, that one I'm doing second. The Gemara is not dealing with that. The fact is, each one is getting its own bracha. We don't have an argument, the rabbis or Rabbi Yehuda. Yes, Susan.
Only if you're going to eat those particular, in other words, you only say
all the things we're talking about.
Right.
Correct.
One
we're
more
only
question.
dealing with stuff you're going to eat. Yes.
Okay, one more question. If someone is at the head of the table and they're the ones that are doing everything, and you're not going to eat one of the particular items, you still say the blessing, correct?
Yeah, nothing to do with the head of the table. They could do what they want. You do what you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Now, the question that we mentioned on Friday was the Gemara leaves a vague, and it doesn't say. So, what do you do if you recite a bracha on? If you're going to be reciting a bracha on each one individually, so you have fruits, you have vegetables, you have mezainas, cake, and you have wine. You're going to be reciting a bracha on each thing individually. So, which bracha should you say first? We said the argument Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis doesn't apply here. So then, which one does it follow? Does it follow what you cherish, or does it follow the 7 species? Like, what is the order of the brachas? If you're going to be reciting a bracha, only one bracha. So you recite it. We see there's an argument, the rabbis and Rabbi Yehuda, what the bracha should be recited on. But what happens when you're reciting a bracha on each thing individually? Which one takes precedence? So on Friday, I mentioned that the simple understanding of the Gemara is that the rabbi's view would probably be the general view. In other words, because it's a majority, the rabbis, plural. So Rabbi Yehuda probably gives in to the rabbis. That's what we explained, that it would seem that the rabbis, Ben mentioned this, and Ezra, that maybe the rabbis' view should be the main view, and probably that would be the accepted view. And the interesting thing is that Ula leaves it vague. He doesn't tell us. He says the argument is here. Here they don't, we're not dealing with, but he doesn't say clearly. So it makes sense what Ben mentioned, that it makes sense. Probably the halacha follows the rabbis. But I will tell you that that's not the only way of learning this Gemara. There are other explanations in the Gemara. One is that you actually follow the Shiva Saminim. You do follow the 7 species. There is such a view as well, that halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda. And really, even the rabbis agree to Rabbi Yehuda. If you're reciting a bracha on each thing individually, then there is a precedence that should be given to the 7 species. So there is such an opinion. And then there's somewhere in the middle as well that it's you can do whichever one you want. You don't have to do the one you cherish. What? You don't have to do which one you cherish, and you can do whichever one you